To a player who's certainly proved he can hack it in the Premier League already. Bryan Mbeumo, what a season he had for Brentford. Will he be following his boss Thomas Frank out of the club, though? Could he be heading to either Tottenham or Manchester United this summer? We'll get the Spurs angle shortly, Michael. Let's start with you, Mark. Manchester United, long link with Bryan Mbeumo. Now they have competition for him. How confident will they be that they can sign him?
Well, they'll be really confident because there's been other Premier League sides that have also shown an interest in Bryan Mbeumo as well. And actually, he's turned them down to join Manchester United. So the late interest from Tottenham is a spanner in the works, but I don't think it will disrupt this potential deal. Manchester United, as far as they're concerned, are relaxed about the current situation. They believe that Bryan wants to join them in Old Trafford, so therefore they're confident, comfortable and relaxed with regards to his stance. You have to remember that Manchester United last week had their initial and first bid rejected by Brentford, which we understand to be a total of £55 million. Brentford looking for upwards of £60 million. So they're not a million miles away. You'd imagine that a second offer, which we said last week on Sky Sports News was being prepared, will be a lot closer to what Brentford are looking for. Bryan Mbeumo has 1 year left on his Brentford contract with a club option additional year, so essentially he's got a 2-year deal left, so it is going to be a sizable fee that Manchester United are going to have to pay. However, he's not the only target they're looking at. They would be naive if they were to only put all their eggs in one basket, because things change in football and things change very quickly, as Michael knows, so therefore they do have other options, but right now it looks like it's going to be a Manchester United situation for Bryan Mbeumo.
Spurs' interest, just a spanner in the works, to quote Mr. McAdam. Does Thomas Frank's arrival
don't quote me.
change that?
Well, let me just say, Spurs and Brentford have had very good negotiations over the last 10 days or so, and we've been reporting day after day on Thomas Frank's appointment at Tottenham Hotspur. That was never in doubt, and I'm sure people were bored of me saying it every day. But what I kept stressing was the delay. Well, not really a delay, it's probably the wrong word, but the coaches coming in, and they've taken some good coaches from Brentford. Now, you do wonder now what potential players Thomas Frank might fancy at Brentford, and does he want to take a number of players from Brentford? It is talking Nathan Collins, the defender who's been absolutely brilliant for them at Brentford. But in terms of Mbeumo, there have been initial discussions about a potential deal. They are interested in him. Antoine Semenyo is another player Spurs like as well. But at this stage of the window, they are just one of a number of top attacking players Spurs have been in discussions with. The encouragement Spurs have had, Jules, is the fact that Bryan Mbeumo and Thomas Frank have a brilliant relationship. I mean, who doesn't like Thomas Frank? I'm not being funny, but they have a brilliant professional relationship. He's been absolutely outstanding. There was concerns when the likes of Ivan Toney left, Ollie Watkins, and Thomas Frank has always got this sorted out, and then Mbeumo has been absolutely outstanding. But I don't think Spurs are under massive pressure here. If he wants to join Manchester United, there's nothing much Tottenham can do, but they've been encouraged with the fact they get on so well, Frank and Mbeumo.
But I mean, could that change his mind, this relationship he has with Frank? Could that be the decisive factor?
Absolutely. I've been at deadline day, I've been at clubs on a deadline day, and a player has arrived and then he's disappeared again because he's got a better offer. Until that contract is signed, it's always possible that something else could come to the table. And that's what happens with these big deals. One phone call, one extra bit of money, one chunk more money for Brentford, and suddenly the dynamic shifts, and that's where you can never say never, and you always have to be prepared for the unexpected when you're talking about transfers.
And I think Thomas Frank will be at Tottenham this week, so maybe some in-house media. Be interesting to hear about his appointment. He's always very engaging. We love hearing him on Sky Sports News, so the work there starts now.
But Spurs, Manchester United, both very keen on Mbeumo. Sticking with Manchester United, a striker.
Mbeumo. At one point we thought, yes, he's already signed for Manchester United. It seemed like it was practically done. Is there confidence? What's the chances of Spurs hijacking this deal also?
Look, for sure there is appreciation from Thomas Frank, and so it's quite obvious to discuss a target like Mbeumo for Tottenham, because he's one of the names they discussed internally as soon as he signed his contract as new Tottenham manager. So it's obvious in football to see these kind of situations, but my understanding is that Man United remain at the moment in control of the situation, in conversation with Brentford, club to club, talking almost on daily basis, trying to find a solution. We know with these clubs like Brentford, Brighton, it's always difficult to negotiate for their top players. So it's not easy to reach an agreement, but Man United are on that. Are talking to the club, always in contact with player agents and with an agreement with Bryan Mbeumo, because the player wants to go to United, and so at the moment United remain front runners on this story. Let's see if they can be able to reach an agreement on the fee with Brentford.
Mentions there a potential €100 million price tag, David. Manchester United have been linked with him. How would they be able to afford that?
Well, when you speak to the English clubs, they think that perhaps they could prize Ekitike for a bit lower. Seb and the German perspective, understandably, could be different, and it's Eintracht Frankfurt's gift to ask for whatever they like. Maybe if a club got to 80 and some add-ons or whatever, I don't know how they would structure it.